I'd like to turn it over now to our board chair, Meg Seeley, for her remarks. But before I do, I just want to express how deeply grateful I am to have had the chance to work with Meg so closely over the last couple of years. Her compassion and empathy for the team at the foundation and for Vermont communities is really remarkable. And her thoughtful engagement has helped us stay grounded through a monumental organizational experience. As an outgoing chair, we'll be making a grant in her honor to an organization she recommends, but I'm really grateful for the time that we've had to work together, Meg. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. And I think you probably know where I'd like that donation to go. The COVID Relief Fund, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody, and welcome this afternoon. And thank you, Don, for that lovely opening. So along the lines of technology, who could have imagined when we gathered last year together in lovely Woodstock that we'd be together today via Zoom? I didn't even know what Zoom was a year ago. Or when we gathered 2 years ago at the Addison County Fields, that this year there would likely be no fair, no concerts, with likely devastating financial ramifications on that region. Neither did I envision when we convened at Hildene a few years prior to that circumstances in 2020 would have our democracy in crisis. None of these things could have been imagined or planned for. Yet we are here today to celebrate resiliency and generosity. Even COVID and the economic havoc it has wrought cannot deny from us. Throughout the uncertainty and the challenges we face as a nation and as Vermonters, there are silver linings. Personally, for me and my husband, Bruce, we welcomed 2 new grandbabies since this time last year. Young people, some with families, are moving back to Vermont, are coming here for the first time and buying properties. We've been blessed with stellar public health leadership and the good fortune to have state leaders in Montpelier who listen to science. These are amazing examples of statewide and regional generosity. There are so many to point to. Who could have believed that VCF would surpass its own ambitious goal to rise up the COVID Relief Fund? All this offers glimmers of hope. But nothing does so more for me than the strong will and determination of Vermonters on both the giving and the receiving ends during a global pandemic. As I step down as chair today from the VCF board, I do so with immense pride in being a Vermonter and for my affiliation with this organization. The Vermont Community Foundation has tirelessly led the charge in partnering on statewide collaborations to shore up Vermont's infrastructure so as to feed hungry bellies and help sustain nonprofits so they could prioritize their own regional needs and then go out and meet them. Never before have I seen or heard more people in my area of the state comment about VCF being there for our communities in these and so many other ways. VCF is better understood. That is a silver lining. Before I introduce Carolyn, I would be remiss to not offer a shout out to every single person who works at VCF. It has been inspirational, enlightening, and motivating to work with Dan and his entire team. As I have said to many of them over the last 2 years, they made my job easy and even at times fun. I have stood by in awe these last 6 months as they worked remotely from home, many with young children underfoot, juggling the challenges remote learning has presented with those with school-aged children. All this while rising to the challenges of receiving more funds and granting more resources than ever before. To all of them and to my fellow board members, thank you for all you do for our brave and mighty little state. Thank you for the trust and confidence you placed in me. I've learned lessons from each of you and I've taken them to heart. I will ever be grateful for the many friendships VCF has brought into my life. It is now my distinct pleasure to introduce Carolyn Dwyer to those of you who don't already know her. In short, she is extremely well suited to take over the reins from me. Carolyn has worked at the intersection of politics and public policy at the state and federal level for over 25 years. Some of you may know her for her work with Senator Leahy, Congressman Welch, and many other candidates for public office. She has also worked to recruit and support women in politics through her collaborations with the National Women's Leadership Forum and the Vermont Women's Leadership Initiative. Carolyn has also worked in the field of education policy, ranging from school desegregation to early care and education, and post-secondary matriculation. Carolyn has a doctorate in educational leadership and public policy. Her research focuses on education philanthropy in rural areas. Her work will be published in the upcoming issue of the peer-reviewed Journal of Philanthropy and Education, and she's promised me a copy. In addition to her service to the Vermont Community Foundation, Carolyn's service includes the University of Vermont Board of Trustees and the Echo Leahy Center for Lake Champlain Board of Directors. And now, here's Carolyn.
Thank you, Meg. Thank you so much. I think your remarks captured well the grace and wisdom with which you led our board. In particular, I would like to highlight your commitment to your own community's health and vitality. That set an example for our entire board to follow and represents well our organization. So thank you so much, Meg, for your service and for the great example you've set for all of us.
Thank you, Carolyn.
Among the many wonderful things about the Vermont Community Foundation is working with such a talented and resilient staff, the thoughtful and engaged board members, and all of you, of course, who are our partners in doing impressive work in Vermont communities. Today, you'll hear more from this talented staff, not only about our ongoing work on the opportunity gap, but the essential work of the COVID Relief Fund. As you listen to their presentations, I'd like to give you another lens for which you consider the work being done, and that's the lens of rural philanthropy. We know that despite historic amounts of philanthropy in the United States, very little finds its way to rural communities. In fact, less than half dozen actually commit funds to rural America. That's why in places like Vermont, we rely on a different kind of philanthropy, the kind that relies on identifying local resources to match local needs. That means our supporters have deep connection to Vermont communities. They want to see our communities thrive. That means our investments are driven by the unique needs of the communities in our state as a whole. That means we have strong partnerships with nonprofits, those that are uniquely skilled in their work and have connections to the communities they serve. Rural philanthropy is tightly connected to the people and the communities they serve. That connection is the powerful asset we bring to bear. It is a key factor in why the Vermont Community Foundation is a trusted partner in times of crisis, because we know our communities, we know the needs, and we know the partners who are in a position to meet those needs. It's why, despite the heaviness of this moment, I feel such optimism about the work. We have done this before. We've learned and we've grown along the way with our communities. And most importantly, we are deeply invested in the success of every Vermonter and every Vermont community. The challenge we face are immense, but so too is the power of rural philanthropy. So with that in mind, I hope you'll gain great wisdom and insight into the work we've done and the collective power of our rural philanthropy. I look forward to working with all of you and hope one day soon, again, we'll meet in person.